Hi guys, welcome back to Motherload UK. This feels really weird because I haven't done this in, I want to say 6 or 7 months. I just kind of disappeared off the face of YouTube and stopped filming, stopped making content, stopped everything. And for some unknown reason, on a random Thursday when I look like this, I'm in my lazy clothes because we have nothing planned for today. It's wonderful. I have no makeup on my face. I felt like picking the camera up. So I had to go and make sure my battery was charged because I haven't touched my camera in so long. Find my little tripod and set you up. There is the TV on in the background because Lumi's in the room with me. This is something that I guess if I'm gonna come back to YouTube, I'm gonna have to figure out. Hopefully that's not too annoying and I can edit it if it's a little bit too loud. She's got 4 boxes of toys, so there's also those noises. You'll just have to excuse me. Felt like filming, so I'm sat down filming. So where have we been? It's been quite the year. If you have followed us for a while, then you probably know a lot of the stuff that's been going on. If you follow me on Instagram, again, you'll know all the stuff that's kind of been going on. If you are new, completely new to this channel and you're just finding us today, hi, I'm Sam, I'm 29, I have 2 children, a 5-year-old boy called Scout and an almost 10-month-old now, believe it or not, called Lumi. I have been on YouTube for many years, but this has been the biggest break that I've taken ever, and that is down to the fact that life got really crazy, really stressful, and lots of things happened. Where do we begin? I guess it all kind of started when Lumi was born. She was born in September last year and she was really healthy. She was the birth was brilliant in comparison to Scout's birth. I think you can also find that story on here somewhere. She was a little chubby little baby and she was great. At 17 days old, we almost lost her. I haven't really talked about this on the channel. I kept saying before I disappeared that I was going to update everyone and let everyone know what was going on, and I never did make that video. So I'll try and keep it kind of short. Basically, we were doing some shopping on a Tuesday morning. It just happened to be my mum's birthday. So I woke up, texted her, wished her happy birthday because she was in Greece at the time. Took Scout to school and went and did some shopping. Whilst we were there, we stopped to change her nappy and Liam noticed that she was looking a little blue around her mouth, and I just thought, oh, it's just the lighting in the toilets, it looks a bit weird, yes, but she seems fine. That night previous, she had slept really well, but she wasn't really eating as much, she wasn't feeding great. I didn't really think anything of it. I thought maybe she was going through a growth spurt, but luckily she's going to make as much noise as she possibly can now. Luckily, the supermarket we were in is right next door to our doctor's surgery, so he said, let's just pop over, see if we can get her checked out whilst we're here, which we did. I agreed to. Again, I didn't think anything of it, and we went to the doctor's. Again, she was quite sleepy. I wasn't that worried. Newborn baby's asleep. As you can hear, she's totally fine now. And we went in and the doctor listened to her heart and was very quiet. She then listened again and said that her heart was beating very fast, to the point where she was counting about 200 beats in a minute, and that was quite high and she was concerned. So what she did there, obviously that was worrying in itself. She couldn't see any other outward signs of illness or anything that might be wrong with her. Her colour was fine, it's just that her heartbeat was really elevated. She called an ambulance and obviously that scared the living daylights out of us, but the ambulance came to the doctor's surgery, picked us up and took us to A&E. On the way to A&E, Lumi's heart rate kept increasing. It was getting higher and higher. I think at one point I looked at the heart rate monitor and it was 240. And when we got to hospital, things just went really downhill. And talking about this now, it feels really strange because if you'd have asked me to talk about it, this is why I never talked about it before I disappeared, because back then I couldn't talk about it without getting really emotional. But basically, hiya Pudding. She's like, what's this camera, Mum? I've never seen this thing before. So this is Lumi. She's nearly walking, she's trying. You're gonna come and cause chaos now. So when we got to A&E, they thought initially that it might have been something like sepsis, something along the lines of an infection. and they couldn't get any IV lines into her, they couldn't get any lines into her whatsoever, and it was quite distressing, and her heart rate kept rising and rising, and I think at one point it was over 300. They went to do, I can't remember the name of what it was, but it's basically where they put a line into the shin bone, and the doctors told us that it would be quite distressing because the baby, obviously it's very, very painful, and it has to be drilled into the bone. Now when they did that, Lumi didn't flinch, she didn't make a sound, and that was a very worrying sign that she was incredibly, incredibly poorly. We were taken to the family room, we were there for hours, in and out, in and out. The doctors came in at one point and told us that they were probably going to lose her, that they couldn't stabilise her. And honestly, it will and always will be the worst day of my life. I don't think I could, I don't know, it was just a horrible, horrible day. She's not going to sit still now. What then happened is they got the transfer team in, and they were going to transfer to Alderhay, and the transfer team came, and the most lovely guy who runs the transfer, like the doctor on board, came and obviously spoke to us, and again said, you know, we've managed to get a line in, we're doing this, that and the other. She's now asleep, she's been put out, she's, you know, she's not aware of anything, but we do need to make sure she's definitely stable before we move her. So we then waited even longer, and it got to the point where he said, we're not going to be able to do any more for her here, we just have to risk the transfer. Now Liverpool from us is about an hour drive. Obviously they were transferring a very sick baby, so they had the blues and twos on the whole way there, and they got there much quicker, but there was only room for one parent in the ambulance, and she was in a heated bed with all these wires and all these machines, and she was grey. She was very, 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 very poorly. It was terrifying. So I could not do, as much as I'm her mum, I asked Liam to go with her. I couldn't do it. So Liam went off with her, and Liam's sister came and picked me up, and we went home, packed bags, and went to Alderhay. We ended up being at Alderhay for 6 days in total. We are so thankful for them, for everything they did. She was in a very, very bad way when we got there, and it was decided that she was having an SVT episode, which is supraventricular tachycardia, and it was basically just like a miswiring in her heart that was causing her heart to race. You going over there then? Once they found something that was working in terms of taking her heart rate down, it was just a case of getting her back to good health again. She had tons of antibiotics, she was on morphine, she was a mess. She had lines in her head, she had lines everywhere, she was covered in wires, constantly attached to like a heart rate monitor and blood pressure and all of this stuff. And we actually were given a room at the Ronald McDonald House to stay there with her. So unfortunately for Scout, he had to stay with his grandparents for a week because we couldn't get home. We didn't want to leave Lumi. Obviously Scout is important too, but Lumi was very, very, very poorly. But she got better so quickly. The doctors were quite surprised at how quickly she turned around once they'd figured out what was going on. There was a point, at one point we thought we might lose one of her legs because the blood supply, obviously she was working so hard at keeping her blood going to her heart and everything else that was vital. One of her legs turned black, and it was horrible. But by, I think, day 3 or 4, they were keeping that elevated and keeping a check on that, and she still had good blood supply to it. They kept doing scans on it, and the colour came back, and she actually was fine. She didn't lose her leg, and she's practically walking now, so she did okay in that sense. So yeah, it was really scary. We were there for 6 days. I was pumping, so I was breastfeeding at the time. I was pumping, and they were giving her my milk, but also giving her formula as well, because she hadn't eaten for 2 days whilst this all started. So she was very, very, very hungry. She was demolishing milk and keeping the nurses on their feet, that's for sure. But on day 6, the doctor came to us and said, how would you like to take her home? We thought we were going to be there at least another 4 days. And we just said, yes, please, we would love to go home. So we got there on the Tuesday night, and on the Sunday night we came home and had a night at home with her. She's pulling my hair. Do you mind? Ow! Go on. So that was kind of the end of that. She was on medication. She was on a medication called digoxin for 6 months after that, and she had 2 doses of that, one in the morning and one at night, to keep her heart rate steady and to let everything else sort of grow. And when she was in hospital originally, the hole in the heart that babies are sometimes born with, I say sometimes, and that didn't sound like good English at all. I say sometimes. Is it all the time? I can't remember. But basically, the hole that is in the heart when babies are born hadn't quite closed up yet. So they just wanted to make sure that everything was still developing as it should do, whilst her heart was beating at a good level. And then at Easter, she came off the digoxin, and touch wood, we've not had any issues. We've had regular checkups all day. We're under paediatrician care, and they're all very, very happy with her. They weren't sure whether the whole situation, I always call it the Lumi saga, the hospital saga. They weren't sure whether any of that would have affected her brain and her development, because they weren't sure whether she was starved of oxygen at any point. But she's fine. She's a totally normal, nearly 10-month-old baby. She started crawling really quickly. Once she was crawling, she wanted to be on the move all the time. She's babbling, she's happy. She's such a happy baby. And yeah, so that was October. After that, obviously, we had Christmas and everything else. We were trying to settle back into being at home and having a baby with a heart problem, which we didn't know at that point whether it was going to be a forever problem. We didn't know whether she was ever going to have another SVT attack. Or whether it was something that was just going to be a one and done, and that would be it. So at the moment, we think that that was it. We don't think that she's going to have another one, but if she does, she's probably going to be able to be a bit more outwardly showing of it. When she was a baby, obviously babies sleep, babies cry, all these things that you think normal newborn babies do were the things that she was doing. Nothing apart from her lips being a bit blue, nothing actually was that different, apart from maybe she slept a bit more and she didn't really want to eat, but I didn't think too much of it. So I'm very thankful for Liam for noticing that her lips were blue and insisting that we went to the doctors, because if he hadn't, with how quickly she went downhill once we got to the hospital, I don't know if we'd still have her today, quite honestly. So we are very grateful. And yeah, so obviously with all of that, my anxiety was insane. If you've been here a while, you'll know that I've dealt with anxiety and depression in the past, and I got quite low and quite bad with it. I wouldn't say just postnatal depression, I would say full-blown depression again. I am actually back on my medication. I haven't talked about it too much, but I am taking fluoxetine again, but it's doing its job, and I'm much happier now I'm taking that again. And I had to do that for my brain, because I was getting to a point where I was constantly anxious, I was constantly checking her heart rate, I was scared of certain things would happen to her. I had all these bad thoughts, and I was in a really, really bad place. So obviously we had Christmas, and then because of everything that happened with Lumi, we decided that after being engaged for so long, we'd been engaged for 8 years, we decided we wanted to get married. So in February we got married. It was very, very quickly planned. We basically booked and planned and arranged the whole thing in probably about 10 weeks. We got married at our local registry office, but we booked the nicer room. We booked the mayor's room, and we managed to have like 50 people there. It was beautiful. I'll try and insert some pictures as we're going through all of this. And it was a lovely day. We then had a big reception party. We didn't have like a wedding breakfast or anything like that. We just went to a pub, had a few drinks, people got lunch there if they wanted it, and then we threw a party in the evening and had a buffet and a sweets table and all of that kind of stuff, which was lovely. So we got married. That's number 2. Told you, it's been a while. Then in April we moved house. We went on holiday and came home, and basically got home and moved house the next day. We'd found the house and everything else before then, but we moved, which is why you're probably not recognising any of this. We just decided that the house that we had been in for the past 4 years, we'd kind of outgrown. We really weren't enjoying the area we were living in anymore. It was turning into a really bad area to live in. There was breakings and stabbings and people getting beaten up left, right and centre, and it's not a place I wanted to raise my children. So we did move out of town. We moved to the next town up, and we are now on like a tiny little court. No main road access really, like directly from the house anyway. You have to come up the road to get to the house. We've got a driveway, finally! In the 10 years we've been together, Liam and I have never had a driveway outside our house. So we have a driveway, we have a garden, which is still gravel, it's not grass, but we have a nice garden. And yeah, we still have 3 bedrooms, but we have a conservatory. It's a lovely house, and maybe one day I'll actually show you around. But considering we moved in April, we're still sorting certain things out. We haven't quite gotten everything where we want it or how we want it, and I think that's just the joys of having 2 children and Liam having a full-time job. And no, you're not grabbing that, madam. And this one being an absolute whirlwind. She is just like her brother. She never stops. Never stops. Do you want one of these? Is that what you're after? So yes, we moved house in April, and I think that was the last thing. Her SVT episode wasn't the only thing that we went through with her. She also has a cow's milk protein allergy. Well, we think she has a cow's milk protein allergy. We don't know whether it was just a side effect of her being in the hospital and coming from breast milk to full formula, because being in the hospital and trying to keep my supply up through all of that was really, really difficult. So when we got home, I tried my best to up my supply and everything else, but it just wasn't coming back. So we did then go to fully formula feeding, but she was having mucousy poos and being sick, and she was a very colicky baby, very, very colicky baby. So she's on prescription milk at the moment. We're due to see the dietitian this month, actually next week. So I'm hoping that maybe we can start to challenge that soon, because we've never had a problem with Scout. Maybe she's just a picky child and she's gonna cause us issues the entire time, but she's worth it because she's an absolute angel. She's such a good girl, aren't you? You're a bully sometimes, but you're such a good girl. She's a great eater, she loves her food, and yeah, she's totally worth everything that happened. But basically that's why I disappeared, because I wasn't handling that situation very well. I was trying to work through it all. I was trying to be normal and go back to like a normal life of, you know, a mum with a 4-year-old at the time and a newborn baby. But all these other things that were going on in my head, I couldn't keep up. And you know, we got married and then we moved house, and I felt like moving house would help because we'd be in a different place. But I was just not coping very well, and I'm in such a better place now that I actually feel like I want to come back and start doing videos again. So if you got through all of that, thank you so much. I hope you had a cup of tea and some biscuits through it, because goodness, that was a long update. But I think that's pretty much all we've got to update now. In terms of Motherload UK and where that is, when everything happened with her, all of that kind of got pushed back. I stopped doing everything. So I'm in the process currently of rebuilding the website. I am going to hopefully produce some new products, but Motherload is now taking a slightly different turn, because I don't want it just to be me selling products to you guys. I want it to be more of a community. I want it to be somewhere where mums can talk, where we can share experiences. I want people to guest post and, you know, share things that they want to share, and it not all just come from me. So there will be a blog on the website. Obviously I'm still going to be selling the Motherload UK websites, because the Motherload UK products, because that's where we originated. That was the initial idea for the business, but now I kind of want to grow it into something a bit bigger than that. Hence why I'm getting back in front of the camera, and hopefully I'm going to get the new website sorted soon. We've still got lots of stock from previous releases, lots of Instamum, not an Instamum sweatshirts. We've got lots of Raising the Sleep Thief t-shirts too. So I will be keeping them on the website once it's up, but they will all be reduced because I want to focus on new stuff. So if you liked any of the old stuff when it first came out and you've been around a while and you've seen all of that, then once that website's up, I'll let you guys know, and you can go over and grab yourself a bargain, because I'm just gonna sell it at reduced sale prices and you guys can enjoy. Yeah, the sweatshirts are lovely for the winter. They're so soft, and it's practically all I've been living in for the past few months. I don't think there's much more to update you guys on. Hopefully I won't always look like this. I'm trying to get back into the habit of looking after myself, because all of that went out the window when everything went tits up. And I'm going to start sharing more of us again, days in the life, what we're eating, you know, maybe a few hauls every now and then, holidays, things we're doing during the day. Like, I just really would like to get back to creating content, because at the end of the day, this is what I've been doing for years, and having such a big break, as much as it's been nice not thinking about picking up the camera and doing this and the other, I've also felt really what's the word? Not uninspired. I don't know. I can't think of the word. What is wrong with me? Basically, I've just felt like a massive failure, and that I've not been achieving anything, and I felt a bit like a useless lump. So it would be nice to get back into doing this kind of stuff, and I'm excited that for some reason today on a Thursday at 10 to 11 in the morning, when I look like this, I decided to get back in front of the camera. But hey ho, I hope you guys are really well. I'm sure you'll see more of us. I'm not going to say, you know, we're posted on this day. I say me posted on this day or this day or this day just yet, because I don't know. At the minute, I'm just going to post when I feel like filming. When I feel like creating content, I'm going to post like that. So it may be 1 week, it may be a couple of weeks, it may be every few days. It just depends on how I'm feeling at the time. I'm not going to make myself stick to any kind of routine or schedule, because I feel like that's when I get my most stressed, because I am worried that I don't have content for this, this and this, or I feel uninspired one day and I get stressed because I have to deliver something, and I'm not going to put that pressure on myself anymore. So I will see you guys when I see you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I don't even know how many of you guys are going to watch this video, if not any, like the whole thing. This poor channel has just been sat on its own for months. And if you're new and you've just sat through my whole story over the past like 8-9 months, thank you so much, and I hope to see you guys soon in the next video. I hope you guys stick around and hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button. See, so out of it. Hit the bell button if you want to be notified when I do post next, because I know that that is now a thing. Back in the day, you used to just be like, yeah, here's my video, and now you have to tell people, ring the bell, press the bell button, because then you won't know if I post something, because YouTube doesn't tell you, and it's a whole new ball game. I feel like I've been out of the loop for so long, but we'll get back to it. I hope you guys have all been really well. I hope 2019 has treated you well so far. I hope you've all had a great year, because this year has probably been, this year and the end of last year has been one of the hardest of my life ever. But we're coming out the other end of it now, and I'm so looking forward to the rest of the year and Lumi turning 1, and I'm looking forward to New Year and starting a whole new year and forgetting all of that and moving on. So yes, I'm gonna stop rambling because there's enough of it. Hope you guys are well. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye guys.